There is a moment right before a risky choice when the body feels very clear and very loud at the same time. The heart speeds up, the breath changes, and the mind starts sending sharp messages that say stop or slow down or this is not who you are. Many people believe that this moment belongs only to brave people or reckless people or people born different from the rest of us. But this story quietly challenges that belief. It invites us to look at fear not as a trait but as a signal, and to ask what happens when we stop treating fear as a final answer. From early life, many of us learn that fear is a warning sign that means danger ahead, turn back now. This lesson can be helpful. It keeps us safe. It helps families survive. It supports responsibility. But over time, that lesson can grow too large. Fear starts to speak not only about real danger but also about discomfort, embarrassment, failure, and being seen trying. The context here is not about extreme stunts. It is about how a careful life can slowly become a narrow one. When safety becomes the main value, curiosity shrinks. When success is defined only by avoiding mistakes, growth slows. This creates a quiet loneliness that is hard to explain because on the outside everything looks fine. The first insight sits on the surface. Learning feels joyful at the beginning because there is no pressure to be good yet. When we start something new, we expect to be bad. That expectation gives freedom. We ask questions easily. We laugh at mistakes. We show up again even when we fail. Progress feels fast not because it is magical but because the mind is open. This is often called beginner energy, but it is really permission energy. Permission to try without proof. Permission to fail without cost. Think about a child learning to ride a bike. They fall many times, but they do not call themselves a failure. They call it riding a bike. Adults lose this permission. We start to think learning should look serious and controlled. When it does not, we assume something is wrong. That assumption pushes many people to quit right when learning becomes meaningful. The second insight hides under that surface. We assume fear means inability. We think if something feels scary, it must be wrong for us. But fear often appears not when something is impossible but when something matters. Fear is strongest at the edge of growth. It shows up when identity feels at risk. When we might look foolish. When we might fail in public. When we might disappoint someone we respect. These are not signs to stop. They are signs that something important is happening. Fear in these moments is not an enemy. It is information. It tells us where the edge is. It points to the place where learning will be slow and effort will matter. The problem is not fear itself. The problem is how quickly we obey it. The third insight reveals a pattern. Progress often breaks when we try to force our way through struggle. We tense up. We try harder. We hold our breath. We push against discomfort as if it were a wall. But many forms of learning do not respond to force. They respond to awareness. When struggle appears, it is often asking for attention, not strength. The moment we stop fighting the feeling and start observing it, details emerge. The body gives clues. The system reveals leaks. Small adjustments become visible. This pattern shows up everywhere. In difficult conversations, forcing words makes things worse, while listening changes everything. In creative work, pushing harder blocks ideas while stepping back lets them arrive. In physical training, tension wastes energy while calm focus conserves it. Surrender here does not mean quitting. It means releasing the idea that control equals progress. A new perspective slowly forms from these insights. Fear does not mean stop or go by default. Fear asks a question. It asks, what do you need to learn here? When we answer that question with curiosity instead of judgment, fear becomes useful. It becomes a teacher. This changes how we define courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to stay present with fear long enough to understand it. This kind of courage is quiet. It looks like asking basic questions. It looks like admitting ignorance. It looks like failing and returning anyway. It looks like caring even after disappointment. This is why failure feels painful. Because it means we cared. And caring is not weakness. It is investment. In daily life, this can be applied in simple ways. When you avoid a task because it feels intimidating, pause and ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Being wrong. Being slow. Being judged. Each answer gives information. Then ask, what would a small experiment look like here? Not a full commitment. Just a test. Send a draft. Join a class. Speak once. Try again tomorrow. Keep the cost low and the learning high. When you hit a plateau, notice if self-judgment has replaced curiosity. That is often the sign. Replace the question, why am I not better, with what am I missing? In teams and groups, this mindset changes everything. When fear is allowed to be spoken, problems surface early. Mistakes are caught sooner. Responsibility is shared. Silence is often more dangerous than fear because silence hides information. When people feel safe to say I am unsure, systems improve. Safety grows not from pretending confidence but from respecting uncertainty. There is also a deeper layer worth sitting with. Identity shapes fear. When we believe we are a certain type of person, careful, smart, capable, serious, we protect that image. Challenges that threaten it feel dangerous. But identity can be flexible. You can be careful and still try risky things with preparation. You can be capable and still be a beginner. You can be serious and still play. When identity loosens, fear softens. You stop defending who you are and start discovering who you could become. This discovery does not happen in one moment. It happens through repetition. Through choosing to show up again after failing. Through staying with discomfort long enough to learn from it. Over time, fear changes its tone. It still appears, but it no longer controls the story. It becomes a companion that walks with you instead of a guard that blocks the path. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become skilled at listening. Skilled at separating real danger from imagined loss. Skilled at asking for help. Skilled at trying again. Life does not reward those who never fall. It changes those who keep learning how to stand back up. So if fear is present right now in your life, not as danger but as hesitation, what might it be trying to teach you before you decide whether to stop or go?